This is the second battle in the random faction flash tournament, where the factions are picked by a random number generator, not by the players themselves. This is Syracuse versus Arevaci, and neither of these factions are particularly strong. The Scutari of... let's just go over the builds first. 6 Scutari, 2 Noble Fighters, 5 Celtiberian Cavalry, 3 Iberian Swords, Iberian Slinger, and 2 Noble Fighters. So the Noble Fighters are very strong units. They don't have a shield wall. The General of Achilles is a strategist. Then we have the Painted Warriors. Interesting choice. For Syracuse we have the standard mix of Thorax Swords, Sam Knights, a few Balearics, Militia Hoplite Speed Bombs, and some Shock Cavalry. Shock Cavalry could be very nice here against the Arevaci. So the thing about the Painted Warriors, the Painted Warriors have a fair effect, and that fair effect is going to work very well when it's next to a Noble Fighter. The reason for that is that the Noble Fighter is going to make 1, potentially 2 units lose their combat significantly on the charge. Losing the combat significantly plus the fair effect from the Painted Warriors can be enough to break units with 55 morale or lower. So that can potentially be very nice in breaking the center of an enemy army, especially if the general is away. Then it can be super effective. Very devastating. So in this battle, what Arevaci needs to do in order to win is basically just make contact with the melee line of Syracuse reasonably intact. You won't see any dramatic kills on the charge from Scutari. Scutari are kind of like civilized sword units, but they don't have formation attack or shield wall. They really need shield wall. They have good melee attack, decent weapon damage, very good on the melee defense, and not great armor, and not great morale either, so they are a bit iffy units. They could definitely do with a shield wall. So I like what Achilles is doing here with his Iberian swords and putting them up front. The Iberian swords will be able to fire on incoming cavalry with greater certainty than the Scutari and the other units, because they have longer range. They have 80 range, so they can do a lot of damage to charging Hippeus. Although they will get wrecked by the Hippeus, absolutely wrecked. So moving up with his Iberian slingers here, looks like Scalp Hunter is activating fast reload on his, or quick reload on his guys. They are firing at the Iberian slingers, and the Iberian slingers are not a good target for them. They probably should just wreck the Iberian swords instead. Because now Achilles is moving up his Iberian swords. The Iberian swords are going to get into range of the Balearic slingers, and the Balearic slingers are going to be eating a lot of javelins there, so nicely done there by Achilles. Archers on the flanks firing into the sides of the Scutari. But here Achilles is incoming with cavalry, both here, going for the skirmishers. We have Hippeus Lancers coming in, getting a good charge, but only against the Iberian swords, so very nicely done there by Achilles. Engagements happening all over. The Hippeus Lancers are getting wrecked by javelins in melee. This speed bump unit is just going to evaporate, and that's one of the nice things about having the Painted Warriors, is that speed bump units are going to rout super quickly when they are losing against good units and there is a fair unit nearby, so it's very useful to have a fair unit to deal with the low morale speed bump units. Celtiberian cavalry already in the rear of Syracuse. The skirmish line of Syracuse is being destroyed quickly. Here we have the Iberian slingers just mainly being annoying, not really killing anything just yet. Celtiberians versus Italian cavalry. Hippeus trying desperately to get out of this blob of Arevaci fighters, but it looks like they're going to die. Some archers doing nice work on the flanks here, getting into the Scutari. The mercenary Samnites are losing. The noble fighters have broken through. Scutari doing well against thorax swords. In the center it's just no contest. The painted warriors and the noble fighters are going to break so many units. That combination is deadly. Being frightened and losing a combat, it's going to be super bad for many enemy units. So the Hippeus Lancer General of Scalp Hunter is doing fine, but at this point the Syracusan lines are in complete disarray. Just too many strong units left on the field, too much cavalry left on the field for Achilles. He's going to be able to chase away the skirmishers of Syracuse. He's going to be able to defeat the infantry of Syracuse, and at this point there is absolutely nothing that Syracuse can do to stop its impending doom. Thorax Swords getting spanked by noble fighters. But it looks like we have the warrior general for Scalp Hunter, and he just used at least Warcry. I didn't see if he used Intimidate as well on the general of Achilles. But second battle in the final, so now the score is 1-1, which is great because that means that we will see another battle between these two players. Good game to both players. I think in this matchup, I'd say that Scalp Hunter finally got the short end of the stick. Syracuse is not a great matchup for a barbarian faction. But that being said, Arevaci is not... in many ways, it is a typical barbarian faction, but what separates Arevaci from the other barbarian factions is that Arevaci's mid-tier infantry has really poor charge value. So the Scutari infantry has decent enough melee attack and such, but their initial charge damage is comparable to that of Thorax Swords, but they are cheaper, but they do lack shield wall. So units like Thorax Swords are actually going to do very well against Scutari. Now, Arevaci also have the very expensive noble fighters, deadly units, but they don't have shield wall either. So a distinct lack of shield wall for the Arevaci, which hurts them quite a bit. But what they do have is they have the elite Balearic Slingers. They also have the Iberian swords. So the skirmish advantage isn't huge for Syracuse over the Arevaci potentially. Syracuse has a decisive cavalry advantage over Arevaci, but overall I think the balance of power is definitely in favor of Arevaci in this matchup. Syracuse can do some interesting things with skirmishers and pikes to stop sort of the mad rush that Arevaci can do, but still I think it's going to be more difficult for Syracuse to pull off a victory here than it is going to be for Arevaci. Strength and honor. See you in the next battle.